Should you close at the end of the month? This is Jen Hernandez, Loan with Jen, here to give you the real facts so you can make the decision that's best for you. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, we're back. Okay, should you close at the end of the month? So let me give you a couple of the definitions of how it works from the lender's perspective, and then you can decide what's best for you. So the first payment is always the second first of the month after closing. So I'm going to repeat that. So the first payment for lenders is always it's always the second first of the month after closing. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you close on the 15th of, let's just say March. Your first payment isn't until May 1. So we've got April 1st is the first of the month. You don't have a payment. It's not until the second first of the month. If you close at the end of March, let's say you close March 28th, you don't have a payment April 1, that's the first of the month after closing, and you still close May 1st. In other words, any time in March that you close, your first payment is always May 1. If you close in August, your first payment is always going to be October 1, the second first of the month after closing. So why that is that lenders want all of your payments to be equal. Lenders don't want you to have to worry about a first payment being less or different than the rest. So what they do is they collect interest only from the borrower the day of closing to the end of that month. And then the payment in our first example, I said if you close March 15th, your first payment is May 1st. So that May 1st payment goes to pay for interest that was accrued in April. So interest is paid in arrears, and so it means that the monthly payment that you make goes to pay the lender back for the interest that was accrued in the month prior. So the month of closing, which was March in this example, let's say again that you closed March 15th, you're going to pay 15 days or 16, because there's 31 days in March. You're going to pay interest through the end of that month. So if your interest is $10 a day, I'm just making this up, if your interest only is $10 a day, then 16 days times $10 a day is $160. So you don't have a full payment due at closing, you just have that little interest portion, okay? And then your first full payment is that May 1 date. Again, it's the second first of the month after closing. So let's just rewind it a little bit differently. Let's say that you close March 28th. You're gonna pay just 3 days of interest. So that's 3 days of interest times the $10 a day that was in our example. That's $30 that you're going to pay in additional closing costs for the month of March. Just think of it similar like prorated rent, okay? And then your first payment is 33 days later on May 1. So again, when people ask me, should I close at the beginning, middle, or end of the month? It just depends. It's more of a psychological thing, I think. Like a lot of people close at the end of the month because then their prepaid interest is really, really small, but then they have a payment like 32, 33 days later. Whereas if you close on the second or the third of the month, you've got a larger interest expense. You know, if you've got 28 days of interest that you have to pay, that's $280. For example, again, that $10 a day interest is purely an example. I just pulled it out of the air, okay? Every transaction is different because the interest depends on your loan amount and your interest rate, okay? So you'll have to get that figured out, and then that daily rate is times by the number of days in the month. So people that close in the beginning of the month, they have a larger interest-only expense at closing, but then they have 60 days or 57 or 58 days until their first payment on May 1. Again, we're using the example of March, being whatever day you close in March, for the first payment on May 1st. So again, it's kind of a timing thing. The lender's going to get their money one way or the other, but the prepaid interest at closing is something that some clients are really concerned about. So be sure to talk to your local lender to just see how that affects you, to clarify, to make sure you know what the numbers are. I hope that you found this helpful to give you some talking points. If you're in Texas, call us. Talk to you soon. Legacy Mutual Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity lender. The opinions expressed here do not reflect those of Legacy Mutual Mortgage.